Good morning, friends. It's towards the end of the year. Christmas is tomorrow, December 25th. We had a solstice party at the Linus House. I'm showing you a picture of my mom on the left and Marianne Bookwalter. She wrote this book. It's called Memories of a Berlin Childhood, about her escape from Nazi Germany to Oregon. She's in her 90s, like 95. Mom is 90. So that's an annual, or actually, we have a solstice party every solstice and an equinox party every equinox. So that's four festivals or parties a year that we've been having at the Linus Pauling House. I've talked a lot about the Linus Pauling House. I introduce myself every so often and give you some history. Keep that as a bookmark in your mind. Linus Pauling House. Linus Pauling was a chemist who taught himself a lot of chemistry before he went to college in the basement of this very house where we're having the party. Um, it was a boarding house run by his mom after his dad, a pharmacist, passed away when he was like 8 years old. And it's very close to me in terms of geography as well as our destinies have crisscrossed a lot. I've visited the Linus Pauling reading room, financed by Doug Strain, who also helped rehabilitate this house and helped the Quakers also. So, major figure in the Pacific Northwest industries. Got his start making electroscientific instruments, the name of his company. The main point of this video is I'm going to look at this blog here for a second called The Math Less Traveled. It's new to me. It was suggested to me by a friend who's a career math teacher. And it makes the good point that research mathematicians don't usually get into elementary mathematics. It says it's remarkable, also remarkable for a research mathematician to publish something about elementary mathematics, but Po Shen Lo is not your average research mathematician either. He does lots of really cool work making mathematics more accessible for all kinds of learners. And that's very encouraging to think that there's mathematicians of that ilk. In the physics world, Robert Karplus, he turned his sights on how to sort of pave the way for newcomers. Like, how now that I'm into physics, do I make the road behind me smooth? And this is a review or a reimaging of the quadratic equation, which we all learn. If we go to a typical high school, we learn somewhere in Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, perhaps. Algebra 1, probably. And so he's got a video about his method. It's not that it has any new, it's very similar to the quadratic formula. It's just, it kind of falls out naturally without as much um, algebra. It seems like a breakthrough, but he wasn't sure either if he'd found something new, so he had to go back and read. This is a picture of him like reading all the sources, going back in history. They've got the lamp and everything. It's kind of staged, but when they wanted to show Linus Pauling learning chemistry in the basement of the Pauling house, they also, OPB, the TV station, they staged some stuff. It's like you want to help it's mnemonic to help the viewer think about what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, you got to go back and read all this stuff. Now, I think to make a segue, that in the Bucky Fuller world, Buckminster Fuller, which is one of the worlds I inhabit a lot, in a philosophy tradition, and Wittgenstein is another one that I spend time on in these videos and in other writings and Medium and so forth. You've got, again, something that helps pave the way and make things simple. Let's see if I get this running here. We don't need sound right now. I use a hypertune approach, which is like I have keyframe nodes with sort of randomized switch points. So the playhead, as it's traveling a scenario, has places where it can make random decisions as to which way to go forward. And so you're like touring in the spaghetti ball of interlinked scenarios, but it doesn't repeat itself in a predictable manner. There's more of a, and if it's a big set of scenarios, it's not that repetitive either. Now this one's a pretty tight little set of scenarios, and if I were to let it play for a long time, you would see things repeating quite often. But I also have two playheads, each one randomized, and I'm touring what we call in synergetics the concentric hierarchy of polyhedra in this little video here. And again, I think a research mathematician, given the right blessings from the right corners, I think it would be a no-brainer to get this smoothly segued into more high school, middle school level. Of course, college, I don't mean remedial college either, especially if you're taking the literature route, because you quickly connect to other thinkers through Fuller that he met and wrote about, and it can become a pretty deep philosophy class pretty quickly if you go with general systems theory and some of the anthropology that Marshall McLuhan, there's a lot of ways to take it. It depends if you want to be with retro thinkers, new thinkers we've never heard of. But so I'm saying if you're a curriculum writer, it would be exciting, I think, for you if we could somehow get the whole number volumes of the concentric hierarchy linked into the curriculum. And that's what I work on. As you know, closest packed spheres are your friend. The microarchitecture of the virus is your friend. Of course, the geodesic dome, but don't necessarily start there. And then there's the positive futurism, which can seem very retro today. But as I hope I've shown in recent videos, it's not that retro. In other words, Fuller was forward thinking even by today's standards. And when you read some of his stuff from even the 70s, it feels like we haven't got there yet, right? And it feels like we might still be going there, wherever there is. But we don't have research mathematicians ready to sign their name on and say necessarily, I mean, they've got the jitterbug transformation worked into the IMU logo, but then who's heard of the International Mathematicians Union, right? That's out of Berlin, am I right about that? Talking about a video that I often cite, which mentions the jitterbug and so forth. Dr. Loeb, major crystallographer, also was into it. It was under his tutelage that Amy Edmondson wrote a fuller explanation, which I understand got some negative reviews, and I think that's the kind of thing that gets people to shy away. They don't want to mess with their career prospects. I think CarPlus and turning to physics for children or younger people, that's a controversial move to make in your career, to focus on what you could call elementary stuff, because supposedly that's all hammered out and known, and it's up to lesser people with less schooling and understanding to hammer out the best, what do you want to call it, curriculum for younger people or newcomers to the field, right? It shouldn't be up to the most talented of mathematicians to worry about this. And so in my case, like, I was a philosophy major at Princeton, and mathematics is not my field directly, but math teaching, yes, high school level maybe. I've got, I go on into group theory, crypto, Bernoulli numbers, sequences and stuff are very important to me, like Fibonacci numbers and phi, or some people say phi, Pascal's triangle. So these are already nodes in my hypertuned scenario network connecting to the whole number volume synergetics hierarchy, with the volume 6 rhombic dodecahedron around each one of these ping pong balls packed in the CCP, as Dr. Loeb thought we could teach how to do it this way. Instead of calling it, we still call it the CCP or FCC, which both of those they have the word cubic in them, face-centered cubic, cubic close packing. However, we're really doing the 12 around 1 and then expanding shell by shell, as in this graphic here. Again, this is to pave the way for newcomers. to, uniform density, matrix, lattice. You can use it in architecture, and it is used all the time. It's called the octet truss. Alexander Graham Bell very much into it. Missed opportunity there to talk about the kites, Alexander's kites, and the triangular numbers, tetrahedral numbers, and so on. Those are also covered in this Math Less Traveled blog, right? I think on Facebook, I've been discussing that lately. Now that I found that blog, because he's kind of a fellow traveler, that blogger, in terms of wanting to make things easier for kids, right? I teach coding for kids. It's literally the name of the company that I've been working for off and on, doing Python, but maybe Scratch first. A hybrid of Scratch and Python. Even Harvard does that in CS50, right? As they move quickly through computer science, they start with um, Scratch, which is not condescending. It's a brilliant piece of work. MIT Scratch, if you don't know what I'm talking about. I've moved over to Facebook as I wind up. I just say, looking forward to the new year, what I'm hoping for is that I'm, by the way, saluting Yang. I think presidential candidate Yang was very, very effective in drumming up popular support. All the videos, iconography, the memes, he got a lot of support, and I think people recognized his integrity, and I hope he keeps being a leader. I think bottlenecking into a presidency is not necessary. Ram Dass Poster, thank you, Melody. He just passed away at this time. Of course, I'm following my usual threads around people trying to start wars. And here we go. 12 Days of Christmas in the tetrahedral numbers. So this will take me back to Math Less Traveled. Kind of, this is hypertune comes from. The idea of a hypertune comes directly, of course, from hypertext. Here we are jumping around in a finite universe of web pages following hyperlinks, and I'm suggesting we do the same thing using video. And I've got working prototypes in Python, but it's kind of above my level to do all this myself, of course. So I'm looking for team players. Hopefully some of them want to work with me. A lot of them won't necessarily, but I would like to get caught up in a bigger movement to getting the Bucky stuff back where it belongs, more front and center than it is. I'm aware of this Fuller Revival project going on. Let's see if I can find it somewhere here. Fuller Revival. I'll just type it in. Revival. I don't mind showing you my collaborators because I think not all of them are collaborators. Should be proud to be working in this area. we're not a hidden little subculture. We're pretty upfront about what we're up to and why. So we're not like undergrounds, although we do have some of us have a fascination for like underground comics and stuff. So the revival group is coming along over here, and that does have kind of, I suppose, religious connotations, and that talk about Bucky disciples, call us that as kind of a pejorative, but takes a bit of a thick skin to be in this. But if you're a teacher looking for new things to share and you want to give your kids something other than an incessant drumbeat of doom and gloom, which is always a possibility that that's all they are hearing, is that the world is falling apart. Are there any positive directions forward, or is it all over? Is it, what can we say about a positive future? Anything. And here we go. Jump into the Bucky stuff for a change, and there's some cool hard math in there. By hard math, I mean hardcore math, not mushy, not imprecise, not hand wavy, but actually fun and it doesn't contradict any existing math. That's not the case, right? It's not trying to disprove, it's not trying to make the world flat, it's not trying to do anything crazy in my view. All right, so that's where I hope we go in 2020. More people willing to stick their neck out for some basic, helpful math for kids, where today I think people are a little bit too afraid to do that because of the criticism they might get. I want to encourage you to explore, and as soon as there are enough of us, we'll get less criticism. You'll see. All right, talk to you soon.